The idea for the Capstone Course came about principally because when I was a young man, I was 14, and I had the opportunity to go overseas. I simply had no idea. I think history was something that they had left out of the school books in those days. And to see the history of the faith and the patrimony and the extent to which Catholicism built Western civilization, I was astounded. And the beauty and the art and the architecture. I didn't have at the time, I was only 14 years old, I didn't have at the time any way to take in and to evaluate and to think critically about what I was seeing. I was simply stunned. And I remember someone said to me when I came home from that trip, he was an older gentleman, and he said to me, "Travel is wasted on the old." And I said, "What do you mean by that? It seems like you're the people that can actually go. It's wonderful because you might have the means and the time, etc." He said, "Every young man should have that opportunity, especially the Catholic man, to go visit the land of his forefathers." So we decided when we started this, if we could find the means to pay for it, that every seminarian that graduates from here has the opportunity to take all that he's learned in terms of art and architecture, philosophy, music, etc., Latin, and just experience those realities in the context of the seat, in some sense, of Western civilization, which is Rome. One of the things that is required in the program for priestly formation is that the expansion of the young man's mind happens not simply by virtue of lecture and the textbook, but also in situ, to be in those places where history took place, to see those things for themselves, to experience the actual architecture, to listen to the music in the places for which it was written, and in context of the sacred liturgy, etc. And so part of the Capstone Course is just the fulfillment of what I think the Church wisely wants these men to have, which is an expansive view of that which they're entering into. They are one link in a very vast and glorious chain of men that came before them. And this is what they have to protect and to pass on, because a priest isn't someone who creates, a priest is someone who protects, who receives something from our blessed Lord, passed down, as St. Paul says, from others, and we have to pass it on faithfully. But to pass it on faithfully, you have to have some sense of its breadth, of its height, of its depth. And the Church's history and patrimony is just that. It is the most glorious thing that the world has ever seen. So we have various classes that we do when we're over there. We're only over there for about 10 days, but we have a number of speakers. And of course, Dr. Llewellyn comes with us, and she teaches about the Forum and Roman history, in Latin, of course, in the Forum, which is pretty wild. It's a really great time, and they come away with a great sense of the history of the Church, of her beauty, of her dignity, and what those holy souls have done to the course of time to make that which is spiritual also visible and audible and tactile in terms of the arts. I think one of the most amazing moments, we have Mass the first day we're there. While we arrive, and the next morning we go to St. Peter's and we schedule Mass at the tomb of St. Peter. And so there's what they call the Clementine Chapel, and it's right under the high altar, so you're right there. And if you know that the high altar is above you and you're down there at Peter's tomb, all of a sudden, I think for these men, and certainly it happened for me too, you love these things and you study these things, but it's so easy to make them abstract. It's so easy to make them an idea, but it's pretty hard to think about a simple idea when you're looking at the bones of St. Peter, when you're looking at the bones of the saints that are in the churches there, when you heard about this particular council and this particular riot or this heresy, this saint, whatever, and you see that the reality it's incarnate. But in particular, I think at St. Peter's, that first morning, when I walk in there and they walk in for the first time, I usually turn around. As soon as they come around the corner, I watch their faces. But all of that grandeur and all of that beauty, I think, pales in watching their experience when they kneel down at the places of the saints. Those are the people that they want to become. I mean, they love all of the architecture, and it's fantastic and wild. But when they kneel down there in front of St. Peter, and I watch them touching all their rosaries and putting their heads on things because they just want to immerse themselves in their own inheritance and the people that came before them and the people that they want to become.